Well, hello there, everybody. Hi there, and hello to everyone. It is I, Mark D'Antonio, and I'm here with, of course, our good friend Daryl Mason. Hey, Daryl, how are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm good. You? Hi, everybody.
I'm all right. So, this is a test on our portable machine, the tiny little box that's just very, very tiny that we're going to take with us on the road to do this on the road. Make sure you're in 1080p. We can go to 1080p now. We figured this out. So select 1080p in your stream and get us back to where we belong. Good to see you guys. Uh, we're just looking right now at a globular cluster right now. This is Measure 3. It's a live view, as you can tell, because there goes a satellite right through the view. And we're going to be heading over to Measure 101 tonight to check out the supernova. I do want to say hello to everybody who's here. Tim F was first. Tim, you're the man. Tim F made it first. Okay. Michael Hedrick's with us. Gladys. Hi, Gladys. Gladys is showing up a lot these days. It's nice to see you, Gladys. And Renee Cruz is with us. Dave Vale. David, hey, nice to see you. I haven't seen you before. Welcome to SkyTour Livestream. If you've been here and I haven't seen you, let me know. And then Marianne Robb, who is one of the movers and shakers in the SkyTour Livestream organization, is with us. He's in the chat. And Daryl, one of the other movers and shakers, he's the co-host with me here on the channel.
Hello.
Yeah. Terry Haig is with us. Rocket City Astro, what's going on, man? Sam S, good to see you. And Michael Galea. Hey, Michael, how are you? Thanks for coming in. And I know that and we have Stranger Sound is with us. Nice to see you, Stranger. I haven't seen you before, so guys, make sure you subscribe. And, hit the button to get notifications. It'll be worth the while. And I hope that you all have a good time tonight. All right, this is a live view. This is what we call our night vision mode here, and we're looking at things. Just a little reminder for those who have not been here. This over here is our telescope control. This is our telescope computer right here. This is the telescope out in the building in Arizona. Okay, this is also the telescope in Arizona right here. Okay, right, where's my hand there? Okay, there it is right there. Okay, this is our main view right here, and this is the camera control cluster over here. All right, and our focus system is right here. Now, and as I always point out, the most important features here are this guy right here. This is the exposure time, and this guy, the gain. These are the important areas on our screen. This area right here where I am, you can look if you want. You can just block it out with black tape if you don't. So that is our basic layout for what we're doing and how we do it. And we will be having a second telescope coming online out in Arizona soon. And I am looking forward to showing everybody that one, because here you see Measure 3. The new telescope is going to show it a little bit differently. This is a wide field system, and the new telescope is going to show Measure 3 just about like this, natively, okay, and on the camera. Then we can zoom in even further. So we're going to put those, you're going to see both of those in the same stream. So we'll have two telescopes in two different locations running at the same time. And we're also, you can't see it because it's over there, okay, but I have in my bunker here, but I have another telescope that was the original SkyTour Livestream telescope, and it's all been refurbished and waiting to go in a building. And now that the cost of wood and other construction materials is coming down, our ability to build our new building after we sold the old one when we outgrew it is now going full circle, and we'll be able to do that. So tonight I would like to just take us over to our other piece de resistance object tonight as a checkpoint. And you guys will all be joining me as well when I fly to California this Wednesday, and the following Saturday, next Saturday, I will be doing a SkyTour live stream live from Palm Springs, California, with the studio audience, with a live audience, and you guys will also be in the stream. So people will see your chat, people will see and hear you, and hear Daryl. So Daryl has to be on his best behavior, because he never is, right? Right. I know.
Right.
Yeah. So that said, let's.
I've never been convicted of a felony.
Neither have I.
Convicted is the operative word.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, from your point of view, okay, gotcha. Yeah. No, I'm not the I'm not the felon type myself. I have too much fun with science to actually worry about crime, I guess. So, anyway, I think it's a good idea for us to just head on out to our wonderful Measure 101. Now, one last feature of this is we have a beautiful planetarium here, and this planetarium view is something that we use often, and it's something that we're going to use tonight to locate. Oh, look, Measure 101. You'd think I was seeing this before, right? So we're going to go find it here, and it won't be that far away, and then we're going to go to it. It's called, yeah.
Have you run a focus yet?
I did, and I'm going to do it again because I have to modify it a little bit, because I noticed that I actually hit one of the buttons. So we're going to go to the Measure 101 section of the sky, and then we are going to run the focus, and then we'll be good. So now I told the telescope to go there, and you'll see the fuzzy Measure 101 show up here pretty quickly. There it is, right there. And it doesn't look like much right now, but we're going to leave it there while we do the focus run. All right, and I'm just going to update my system here. Hi, Cindy Murphy, by the way. I saw you before, and Isabella's with us. Hey, Izabela.
Hi, Izabela.
Izabela is one of our major contributors, and I just want to thank her for her part. She does all of our tables of contents. She also has an amazing ability to do art herself. She's an artist, a fantastic artist, and I think that her reputation speaks for itself. I wish she would post links to her stuff so people could see what she does. I know she's done that before. Okay, let's defocus a little bit so that the telescope has something to work with. There we go. Little donuts. All right, and now we're going to actually do a focus run.
Little donuts.
Yeah, little donuts.
John Belushi once said, little chocolate donuts made me what I am.
Well, I don't know if that was a compliment.
He was playing Bruce Jenner in a Wheaties Olympics decathlon commercial.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. All right, so we're focusing now, and you'll see that there's a line of focus here. This is going to go down and then up. So it's moving into focus, and it's going to go back out of focus, right? And when it goes back out of focus, then it'll recognize that it is. So we have 91 stars we're currently using, 92. You'll see that number drop as it climbs on the other side and starts to go out of focus again. And then it's going to find the middle of that curve. You can see now the middle of the curve is going to be right about here. And you'll see that in any second it's going to draw that line. And then we'll let it finish the focus, and then we'll be there. Watch this now. There it is. Boom. And a satellite. Zoom. That's a Starlink satellite. All right. We're good. So now I can tell it to go to the best focus point, which is that interpolated region. It's not at the specific increment where it went. It's wherever that bottom of that curve is mathematically. So we go to best focus, and the focuser is going to shift all the way to the other side and then rack back into the dead center focus. Right. And as it does so, you'll notice our stars are exquisite little dots now. There we go. So now that we've done that, we're going to head west, and we're going to bring that galaxy right into the center. There's a supernova in this galaxy, folks. A star that was that's several times the mass of our sun, and it ran out of all of its final nuclear fuels. Stars go through a bunch of them, and when it did, it finally couldn't keep itself aloft anymore, basically. And when the core stopped producing radiation, gravity won and started crushing the star. And when it did, the core collapsed into itself, and material falling into the core bounced off a solid inert core of iron, which is made in the final stages in stellar evolution of big stars, and shot off out into the stellar envelope. And you can actually,
yeah, right there.
There it is. Yeah, there it is. So really, if we want to talk about the supernova, this is just a 1 second quick exposure here, and we can already see the supernova right there. There it is. That's it. So we'll go now and take an exposure. And I'm sorry for the late start, but it doesn't get dark. It doesn't get dark out there in Arizona, and literally until like 11:30 now. And we're actually pushing it now. We might have some fringe. Nah, probably not. I think we're good, because astronomical twilight is just ending. So yeah, we're pretty close to having a fully dark sky. So let's do we'll do 15 seconds here. All right. So we're underway. I'm going to get rid of our green night vision mode and go into live stack mode, and we'll clear the globular cluster we were looking at. And then what will come in will be the Mesher 101, and the red is only due to color correction, which is there. And this is the first image, and the first image is usually going to be rather noisy like this. And the second one, watch this. Ready? Watch. Boom. Look at that. See the difference? It's an incredible difference. So that's what's happening is we're taking an image, we're aligning it with the first, well, take a second, align it with the first, stack it on top of each other, and just make an image sandwich like that. And so all the subtle detail gets better and better and better, because that never changes, but the noise does. So over time, the noise gets averaged out, and the detail, the faint detail, gets brought to the top. Now, you might hate Starlink, but you know what? It's the reason we can do this right now. So,
are there two supernovas now? I don't remember that star directly above the nucleus.
You mean that one there?
Yeah. I just discovered another supernova.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you have to look up a picture of M101.
Yeah. It's just my memory faulting me.
But we'll let this crank in for a little while. Marianne makes a comment. We're just about ready. That's us, SkyTour livestream. Just about ready to open our store with cool stuff. Can you guys imagine having a tumbler, or for your car, or a travel mug, or whatever, and it has your favorite astronomical object on it, and in fact you watch that object come in here? We got 82 products right now that we're gonna go live with. Now we are a non-profit organization. We started that in order to better serve the community, because that way we can try and get donations, and every donation that people do is a tax write-off, and that's good for them. It's great for us. So if you are of a mind to, you can donate, or you can join our Patreon. If you join the Patreon, you will actually there's a few things. I'm working on the gifts right now, because for each Patreon, all right, I would like to have for each Patreon subscriber, I would like to have something that they get. Now, for the upper levels, we'll have actual gifts that are meaningful and really, really cool. So we have a $5, $10, $25, $100, and $200 Patreon. And you might think, well, who's going to do that? And we actually have a couple of people doing $100 and $200 a month. There are people that are out there that are just fascinated by astronomy, and that's very helpful to us, because that takes care of that pays for the internet that's bringing this to you. And that's something that's I think really important.
Izabela made a liar out of me. I found a picture right before she wrote that.
Yeah, that star was there, huh?
Yeah.
Ah, well. All right. Well, we'll zoom in a little bit now. All right. There we go. So yeah, so when you look at the supernova, one thing I want to point out too in this galaxy, I'll try to do this as a freehand thing. This is one of the spiral arms right here. All right, you see how it's got this really strange shape? That's really cool. And there's another one right here, right? A spiral arm that comes out here and goes out there. One that's down here, right? So the galaxies have these spiral arms, and the spiral arms are where young hot stars form. And when these young hot stars form in these spiral arms, we also find that they tend to be sometimes very much more massive than our sun, because there's copious material from which to form out in those arms. So that's the other reason why spiral arms, as we see here, are blue. Okay, they're blue, and the reason they're blue, of course, is because of the fact that that the young hot stars tend to be blue. The hotter the star, the more blue it is. And like the Pleiades stars are all blue, and they're type B. Right, we have O, B, A, F, G, K, and M. The sun is a G star. M stars are cool and red. They're like 100th the size of the sun, only a little bit bigger than Jupiter in some cases, many cases. And the O stars tend to be very massive, and they have a lot of mass, and they are so hot that they burn hydrogen into helium, the nuclear fusion, at an extraordinary rate. And so they tend to be over and done with their lives in a very short amount of time. So they'll burn hydrogen into helium, helium into carbon, carbon into nitrogen and oxygen, oxygen into other successive materials, all the way to iron. And iron can't be fused. And so when it gets to that, that becomes like a rock in the throat. and other stuff is fusing around the core. That's all this iron, all right? But once those things run out, then the core begins to collapse, and those outer shells that were born fusing these other things begin to collapse on the core, and that's leading to what we see right here. That leads us to the supernova situation. And unfortunately, supernovae are a fact of the universe. And if a supernova went off within 2 or 3 light years of the Earth, it could spell disaster for our planet, because copious radiation would be released by the star that could sterilize us, okay, and sterilize the life-giving atmosphere's capability to protect us, and that would make a huge dent on life here on the planet, obviously. But lucky for us, there are no stars heading toward us that are of any kind of mass, and no stars around us now that are of any kind of significant mass to go supernova. So that means that we're safe, right? We don't have to worry about it. Nice. Yeah, Daryl put in the chat the OBAF-GKM.
The spider web is lining up with that satellite pass.
It sure is. Look at it. On occasion it does. So this galaxy is about 20 million or so light years away. And it's that means that the light we see from it, of course, is 20 million years old. So that supernova occurred 20 million years ago. Fascinating on its own, but that's part of the allure of the universe, is that everywhere you look, you're looking back in time, never ahead in time. You're always looking back in time. So that's one of those things that you just have to realize. You know, the universe is a place where you're doing time travel every single time you look up at the sky. You know, when you look at Betelgeuse and Orion, the red star in the upper left corner of Orion, you're seeing it as it was around 750 years ago, because its light left Betelgeuse 750 years ago. And so light travels a certain distance in a year, and so it takes 750 of those years for light to get here from Betelgeuse. Okay? A light year is around 6 trillion miles or so.
I've seen some numbers recently that they're shortening the distance to Betelgeuse.
I've seen those, but until they actually officially say it, you know, there are some numbers that say it's around 500 light years away, and even 450 light years away. But that's still not close enough to hurt us when it goes supernova, and boy, that would be fun to watch, because you'll see it in the daytime. Just like the Chinese astronomers did in 1054 AD. They saw a star in the night sky that was brand new. And it also showed up in the daytime as well. So, like when the sun was setting, or as the sun was about to set, you know, you still have the daytime sky, and they saw that star in the sky. What was that star? It was an exploding star right here in our galaxy.
Poison Arrow asks, can you talk about what is going on at Betelgeuse and if it's a threat in any way?
Sure.
Betelgeuse is currently setting with the sun, and it's going to be out of view for a while. It's funny that all these, you see a bunch of silly videos on YouTube, etc., talking how, oh my God, Betelgeuse just went supernova. Well, no, it didn't. But we won't be able to tell for a while, really, if it did, until it comes out on the morning side of the sun. What Betelgeuse has been doing is, you might remember it dimmed a couple of years ago, and then it brightened up again. Well, it started brightening even more now, which is the genesis of why people are saying it went supernova when it hasn't really. But it has started to increase in brightness. It's presently, last number I saw, I think they said it was 25 or 50% brighter than usual. And the other interesting point is Betelgeuse is a variable star. Its period of variability from brightest to dimmest and back has been about 400 days. And with the recent brightening, that period has changed to about 200 days. So something is happening there, but we don't know for sure until it comes out in the morning sky in a couple of months. But it's highly unlikely it's gone supernova on us that we know of anyway.
Well, we actually know that it hasn't, and I'll tell you why.
Tree knows.
Yeah, when he's stealing my thunder. When a star does blow up, the first thing out of the star are these little innocuous particles called neutrinos, and they're the result. There's a lot of stellar physics that happens right during a supernova, but the point and the upshot for you is to follow this point. When that core collapses in a star, all right, that rebound effect is moving massive material. I say material, not radiation right directly, but material. So we're getting stuff coming out. But there's these particles that are generated when this happens that are called neutrinos. Now, they're generated all the time in nucleosynthesis, that is to say, the fusion processes that we see in a star. And these neutrinos are not impeded by all the rest of the mass of the star. Many of them can get out. And it may not sound like a lot, but 1 in 1 billion, okay, 1 in a billion of these neutrinos probably escape the star. But that's more than enough considering all the many trillions of neutrinos that are released in this process to send a stream of neutrinos out in all directions from the star, signaling the beginning of the supernova process. We've seen no such neutrino stream from Betelgeuse, so we know it's not going supernova at this point. And the neutrinos head out first, and they'll reach us, in the case of a star like Betelgeuse, many hours before the actual material reaches the surface of the star and bursts out, signaling the beginning of the visual supernova. Okay, so if you're sitting here on your planet going around Betelgeuse, far away where you're still in a habitable zone, and you see a neutrino stream, you just kiss your dog goodbye, because that means that the star is going supernova in a few moments. A few hours, you'll see the actual light of it reaching the surface and blowing the star into smithereens. So that's sort of like an interesting death knell, isn't it? To have these neutrinos that will signal this, and that's something we look for. We look for that. So when people said, "Oh, Betelgeuse is going supernova right now," every neutrino detector in the world was listening for Betelgeuse and heard nothing. Okay, so there's no neutrinos from Betelgeuse yet. When we see neutrinos, it's over. And the thing is, we'll have hours to react. If we get the neutrino stream, we'll say, "Hey, Betelgeuse is, if you put Betelgeuse where the sun is, it goes out almost to Jupiter. So it's a massive star. So it's only in that core of Betelgeuse that might be around the size of the Earth that the neutrinos are formed and they come out. But then the material is still going to take hours to get out of that star. So we have hours and hours waiting for Betelgeuse to go visual supernova on us. So we're going to have the warning. It's sort of like an advanced warning system. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so Michael Hedrick says, how much notice did we have from the neutrinos from 2023 IXF? Well, as Daryl said, he didn't know. We don't know if anyone saw the neutrino stream from this galaxy. Because Betelgeuse has been in the news, I'm sure that neutrino detectors are listening for it as well. But neutrinos aren't stopped even by the Earth. They can go right through the Earth. They go right through you. Millions upon millions of neutrinos are going through you every second. from all over the universe.
Yeah. Supernova 2023 IXF was discovered by an amateur astronomer in Japan who has several supernovas to his name, I believe. Did somebody see neutrinos when 2023 IXF happened? Maybe they did, but they were professionals, and professionals, you know, they take longer to get their information out there, and sometimes they sit on it because they're writing a paper for it, which is happening with some Webb telescope results, actually.
Yep.
But the supernova was a visual discovery in this case. There have been other cases, Michael H. I'm sure Mark could mention. I don't remember offhand, but they have noticed in the past. You know, they get a large supernova flux just before a visible event happens.
Yeah, and it's a few hours beforehand. Now, neutrinos are moving at the speed of light, and the material that's coming out is particles. Particles can't move at the speed of light. Only energy does. And so these neutrinos are energy, very, very high energy, and they can move through anything, including the entire Earth. The only way they're stopped on the Earth is by going through massive caverns that are full of this water that have neutrino detectors all around the spherical shell of this massive underground, deep underground cavern where this was constructed. That's how we actually catch neutrinos, and it's the only way. But if we catch the stream and we can identify which direction it's in, well, then we can actually make use of that and go looking for the supernova. Now, if it comes from a certain direction toward Orion, we don't know that it's going to be Betelgeuse. It's not that fine a resolution. We know that it's something in that direction, and we'll know that, hey, there's a star that's about to go supernova in Orion. Is it Rigel? Is it Bellatrix? Is it Alnitak, Alnilam, or Mintaka, the belt stars? Or is it Betelgeuse? You're going to have telescopes on all of them to actually catch the event happening live. So, I've been having a weird recurring dream, guys, which I think I should share with you. And that is that while we're imaging a galaxy, on one of the frames, all of a sudden we see this bright star appear. And we'll actually have discovered a supernova happening live right on SkyTour live stream. That's something I'd love to have. You know? Izabela says, the stream looks really good. This mini PC is working. Yes, it is. Make sure you're on 1080p, guys. This little PC I'm using is literally this big. It's a little block. Okay, it's a little block that big, and it's only about that thick. And it has as much power as my giant desktop over there. And my giant desktop, it can't drive a massive screen, but that's okay. And it has built-in graphics. It doesn't have a fancy graphics card like that one does. But it does have the ability to stream and do so at a really good bit rate. And that's fantastic. Okay, we're going to save this now. So now for the new folks, when I save these, all right, I saved it exactly as seen as well. So when I save these, they go right out of the observatory up to the cloud and get deposited on our free server, where you can go within maybe 30 seconds of me saying this, and maybe 40 seconds, and actually see and download that very image you're seeing right on the screen now. See that? And as I said, we can highly process these images, and when we do, what will get you, or what you'll see, is in highly processed images, you'll see a far better rendering of what we're showing on the screen here. If you think this looks good, you should see our process shots, because they look really good. So here I'm darkening this up a little bit. You notice the color too. You see the older stars in the middle of this galaxy, and in the spiral arms, these are the blue young stars. See the difference in the color? That's pretty interesting how that all works. Here we go. Oh yeah. Yeah. Rocket City.
That processed image you did years ago.
Yeah.
I thought it looked great, and the stars were very colorful in it also.
Yeah. I actually tried to highlight the colors in the galaxy for that particular process, Daryl. I wanted to see what was really there, because Izabela was talking about, dead pixels being in red, but actually, okay, this one here is a dead pixel, but only on this photo. This blue is a dead pixel, but that red, that's a star. Okay, that one's a dead pixel right there. So there's a few dead pixels that occur on every single photo, and they're never the same one. So it just happens to be how they're feeling at the time, I guess. Well, you have to distinguish them. When you zoom in, you can distinguish them because the dead pixels are sharp. Okay, sharply defined. Stars are not so sharply defined. Right, so let's zoom in right on that. Let's see how close we can get. Right, if we zoom in here, right, and we go right in close here, we're up to like 600% soon. Right, see how the star image looks? All right, that's how the star image looks. All right, now I'm not even zoomed in all the way here. Okay, I'm zoomed in now 1218%. Okay, so if I zoom out and we zoom in on the dead pixel, all right, I'll use a red one just to be the same here. So we zoom in on this now, this dead pixel. See how that's looking squarish and sharp? Okay, that's what a dead pixel looks like right there. Okay, that's not what we see elsewhere. Okay, so those can be removed, and we do remove those in the processing, so you don't see any dead pixels in the view at all. And like I said, when you take this picture again, you won't see that this blue one might not be there, it might be over there, or it might not be there at all. So it's how that works. Hey, C&D boy, good to see you. But again, this is our wonderful foray into the supernova, which is right there. Looks beautiful. And this is Measure 101 that we're looking at right here. And the supernova is got a name. The supernova's name is 2023 IXF. Okay.
The supernova may have maxed out in brightness.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it right now. The AAVSO, the American Association of Variable Star Observers,
Yeah.
had a good light curve chart up, and I'm looking for it as we speak. It maxed out at about 10.8 or 11 magnitude, which is comparable to the brightness of the entire galaxy it's in. I mean, just imagine that supernova is about as bright as all the rest of the stars in that galaxy.
That's right.
Or close to it.
And supernovas do that. So this is the guy we're looking at right there. So there's your pretty as a picture ID right there. Wasn't that incredible, Michael? Michael says, oh my word, Mark, that was awesome when the galaxy came in view upon zooming out. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're kind of going through it, right? It's sort of neat how you just pull them back, and it gives us, it gives us a way to kind of bring you in with us and bring you into our imagery, and it's just really a fun way, you know. I mean, go ahead.
Izabela, how long will it take for the supernova to shrink to a white dwarf? Probably won't. It's a Type 2 core collapse supernova. The star either probably turn into a neutron star or a black hole, or it might have just annihilated itself and blown itself apart completely. But typically, they say it'll turn into a neutron star or a black hole.
Yeah.
Type 1A supernovas are related to white dwarf stars, gaining mass, usually gaining mass of a binary companion.
Yeah, and there's and the one is a Roman numeral 1, so Roman numeral 1A, a little a, and there's also Roman numeral 1B, Roman numeral 1C. So there's 1A, 1B, 1C type supernovae, and they have different characteristics, and it has to do with the type of white dwarf is interacting. Most white dwarfs are carbon oxygen white dwarfs, but you can have some that have magnesium and so forth, and different consistencies and their makeup, and it has to do with slightly more massive stars. So stars a little bit more massive than the sun will still make white dwarfs, but stars that are very massive make supernovae. When you see this star here, when a star makes a white dwarf, the reason it's a white dwarf is because if it's not so massive, if it's massive enough, just enough so that when the core collapses, it can't collapse any further because of a pressure pushing outward. And when you have a star that's not so massive, like our sun, that pressure pushing outward is called electron degeneracy pressure. But when you have a star that's more massive by far, then electron degeneracy pressure can't prevent further collapse. And now you end up with neutrons at the surface and making up the star, and that's called neutron degeneracy pressure. So those two pressures are what will keep a star from collapsing further at certain masses, and there's certain thresholds that are very, very clear. Okay, and so these thresholds, beyond, let's say, a core that remains, it's about 2.4 or 2.2 solar masses. Beyond that, that's about the most massive neutron star you can have, and beyond that, it becomes a black hole. And when I was getting the degree in astronomy, I always had a problem with black holes. I just did not believe that black holes made any sense. And then, when I actually did a project to build a star computationally with a computer, I realized that there are certain thresholds beyond which the answer was that the star had no choice but to simply collapse and become a black hole. And it was easier to think about a black hole as a massive, massive gravity hole. Okay, something so massive that it curves space so much that light can't get out. Once it goes beyond a certain point, the light just keeps circling around inside of it because the light is following the curvature of space, and the curvature of space is so deeply warped by the gravity that the light just gets stuck going around and around and around inside. You think of it that way, and then you don't have any problem when you hear that light doesn't have any mass. So no mass means no effect by gravity. But if you know that light follows the curvature of space and that black holes curve space, well, now if the curve goes like this, light's going to follow the curve because light follows space. So a black hole with a deep gravity well, as we call them, will actually just go in and just circle around forever. So that's what it means when it says not even light can escape. It kind of implies the wrong thing. It implies that light is sucked in by gravity. It's not. Light is just following space. It's doing its thing, like a car on a hill. I've said this many times. Car goes up and down the hill, okay, and it follows the curvature of the land. Well, light is like the car. It just follows the curvature of the land, and in this case, it's the curvature of space. So if this becomes a black hole, we'll still see a supernova remnant, okay, because right now, as we speak, there's material expanding outward that's very, very hot from this star, all right? And as it expands outward, it'll get more tenuous, and it'll begin to cool a little bit, and we'll notice that the color of the supernova here will change from this bluish color to white, and it looks like it may, we said the other night it looked like it was becoming kind of whitish, but I did still see some blue. It'll then become kind of reddish over time, and we saw that in another supernova, in another galaxy. Gladys1 asks, hey Mark, are there white holes, or are they just in theory? Because I read that you need a white and black hole to create a wormhole. Very good question, Gladys. That's a really good question. See, white holes are actually theoretical, and I know that one of the folks that I sat with for a while was just to talk about black holes was a physicist named Kip Thorne, and he was the guy on Interstellar that did all the visualizations of the black hole, and he was dead on accurate. Okay, well, Kip Thorne said that white holes are theoretical, and they are just the logical counterpart. But there's a lot of problems with that, because see, if a black hole is pulling in, a white hole is pushing out. But wait, that means that if the white hole is pushing material out, it should return to its former state, but it's not going to return to its former state. So there's a problem with white holes in general. And in fact, there's a problem with wormholes. The Einstein-Rosen bridge, which is what you're mentioning, that's the wormhole. There's a problem with wormholes as well. We've never seen one. We don't know if they really exist. And for them to exist, they are going to have two endpoints, just like you mentioned. So how can they have two endpoints if one of the endpoints doesn't exist, right? So I don't know. I think that's just a theoretical right now. So white holes, a number of problems with white holes. I've talked about this before, actually, all the problems with white holes. I think we did that on our show, Daryl, on SkyTour Radio. Didn't we talk about white holes and the problem with that? I don't know if we did, but I think we did.
I don't recall. I know I've read speculation that white holes are black holes moving backwards in time.
But yeah, that was what I was just saying. The white hole basically would actually tend to go backwards in time and try to get back to what it was in the beginning. But we know that can't happen, so there's a paradox there. Yeah. So that's the point that I was saying. I didn't say backwards in time, but that's what I meant by saying that the white hole is pushing out and trying to return to what it once was. It's going backwards.
Yeah, I guess that's where the idea of in the Big Bang, it was the big white hole,
right,
spewing everything forth.
But then we would all be going backwards in time too. But then maybe our perception of time that we think is going from one point to the next is actually from one point in the past to one point closer into the future, or vice versa, future into the past. I don't know. Maybe we're all skewed. Maybe we don't know what's going on, folks. Curtis said something here. He said, so the speed of light is not just for light, it's for gravity too. Yes. And I think your initial misgivings about black holes has merit. Yeah, I always had some misgivings about it. It seemed like with dark energy, it seemed like to me a fudge factor. But as it turns out, we see them. We saw them visually. Messier 87 And Messier 87 in Virgo, which is up right now, is a galaxy, a big giant elliptical galaxy that's actually round. It's like a E. I don't remember if it's an E0, but it's not highly elliptical, but it has very little gas in it. But it does have a jet moving out, and when we view it, it's like 2 o'clock at the 2 o'clock position. And that jet is probably from the massive black hole at its center, which we imaged with the Event Horizon Telescope. We is not me, but we as astronomers and humans. And that black hole was massive. It was actually several times bigger than our entire solar system. So another point that I have to make too, and that is, we think about black holes and you always hear, well, everything is crushed down to an infinitely small point, you know? And they said that about the Big Bang, didn't they? They said, well, the Big Bang started from a primordial superatom, this little tiny, tiny, infinitely small point. You know, there's no physicist on the planet that thinks that. There's no astronomer, there's no astrophysicist that thinks that. There's no cosmologist that thinks that. The truth is, the primordial superatom was massive, okay, if it existed as that. And it was actually something that when it blew up in this Big Bang, and that's what we see, what actually happened could have been a very different thing. Okay, the reason that we say that it was an infinitely small point, and the reason we say that black holes are a singularity at the center with an infinitely small point at the very center where everything is focused, the reason we say that has nothing to do with the actual reality. It has everything to do with the way we've defined our physics. So when you calculate, for instance, the force due to gravity, okay, the actual equation is the force equals G times the big mass times the little mass over R squared. Okay, well, let's say the m is the mass of the Earth and the little m is the mass of the Moon. To calculate the force of gravity, where do you draw the lines? From the surface of the Earth to the surface of the Moon? No, from the center of the Earth to the center of the Moon. Okay, so you go to the centers, the dead center point. And because we defined our physics like that, because we go to the center of every object, center of mass, then that's why when we started calculating black holes, we started calculating black holes as having a center of mass, and that was this singularity point. But if they were like that, then why would they grow? Why would they get bigger? If everything was a singularity, then what's all the rest of the stuff around the center to make a black hole have a certain radius? Well, that's the mass that's been pulled into the black hole that can no longer get out because it's deeply held in this gravity well. Okay, and the Schwarzschild radius is a calculation you can do to calculate how big a black hole is based on how much mass it has. And we know that Messier 87's has a stupendous amount of mass in it. Our own galaxy has a supermassive black hole at its center, and it has a stupendous amount of mass as well. Not quite as big as Messier 87's, but it's big. So,
some people might confuse the event horizon of the black hole with the singularity, which is that theoretical mathematical point at the center of the black hole. Now, because of the event horizon, we literally cannot and never will see inside to the center of a black hole because we can't see past the event horizon.
Yeah, that's right. And honestly, we don't even see the event horizon. Yeah, I mean, that picture, you saw that roundish thing, right? Now, why was it blurry? And why was the one taken of our supermassive black hole, the center of our galaxy, blurry? Okay, there's a really good reason for that. And it has to do with the movement of objects that are swirling around these black holes. They're moving quite fast. And so in the time it takes to take this long, deep exposure of these black holes, we've got movement. So you get a blur. You're seeing a motion path. You're not seeing a particle. You're not seeing like an object. You're seeing a motion path. So I think that I think when you talk about it, you have to consider that we don't ever see the universe for what it really is. We see it for what our instrumentation can show us. And our eyes only see the visible spectrum. And everything that we photographed of black holes is well outside the visible spectrum. None of that's in here. That's actually way out there in the radio spectrum where we saw the black hole. So I think anyway I kind of went off on a little tangent on you guys, but I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about black holes and neutron stars, supernovae like this one right here. This is a beautiful example of a gorgeous supernova. I mean, look at it. It's looking at you. I think it's smiling. It's smiling. I can see it.
Mark, Michael H. has a question for you. Different subject.
Okay. If we ever saw aircraft in the streams? Yeah. It's kind of funny. I did see a plane go through a few times. And I think that watching, for like you're watching a galaxy and all of a sudden you see this gigantic, bright, thick line show up with some little dots. That's obviously a plane. So I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen them live looking through the eyepiece. It's startling to say the least when you see it.
Oh yeah.
Michael, that's just a deal with the small field of view of a telescope. It's highly. We're seeing lots of satellites because there's lots of them up there now.
Mm-hmm.
But for an airplane to fly through a given telescopic field of view is, it's a roll of the dice. It's got to be right in the right place to see it at all.
Yeah.
Not to say it never happens, because it does.
Yeah. I do want to make another comment too about tonight. We have a moon that is approaching gibbous, waxing gibbous. Technically, I think it is waxing gibbous technically, but it's not. It's in that mode. It's past first quarter and
it is
heading toward waxing gibbous.
It is waxing gibbous.
Yeah, I mean anything after first quarter is considered waxing gibbous, right? So I guess that's the definition anyway. But so the moon is pretty bright, and we're still capturing a faint galaxy. The supernova is bright, but the galaxy is pretty faint, and we're actually able to capture it. Now, it's kind of on the other side of the sky, but the sky is very bright. If there was Milky Way out tonight, we would not see it with our eyes, but we'd still capture it with our scopes. And the reason is because we're using some special filters to get rid of moonlight. We basically, almost as if it's not there. And so we actually can see things a lot better this way.
If we tried to look toward the Virgo cluster tonight, we'd probably have a hard time. The moon is we're behind the hindquarters of Leo the lion right now, and Virgo's right next to it.
Yeah.
Looking at that part of the sky wouldn't be a good idea.
Right. I agree with that. So let's go over here now. And let's grab... Okay, let's just color correct. All right, and now all right, so you'd be right if you asked if that was another galaxy out there, and it is. It's not the only one either. This, wherever you look in the sky, you're gonna find more galaxies. If you really have the capability to look for them with your telescope, you're gonna find them.
Mark, Voca has a question for you. Which filters do you guys recommend for a Berlin city balcony with a C8?
Okay. Berlin, Germany.
I'm sure.
All right. Volker, are you from Belgium, actually? Yeah, sure. I'll tell you. So, make sure you subscribe, Volker. I'd love to have you. For Berlin, I would actually say that you could use a Lumicon makes a bunch of good ones, but I'll tell you the one that we've had the best success with under light polluted skies. It's a Baader, Baader, UHC-2. Okay, what that does effectively is it allows in the narrow bands of hydrogen alpha, okay, O3, and H beta, okay, and together those three long with just a it's kind of band pass. It's not exactly needles, but kind of a little bit wider on each one. So you actually get rid of most of the light pollution in the sky. Now, if you're under, we used to be under sodium vapor lamps. Now it's mercury, high pressure mercury, and so it's more of a broad spectrum. And now LED lighting. So we went from the sodium vapor, which was that red lighting, that orangey lighting, and then went to the mercury vapor lamps, which are more white, had different lines but could still be managed because it was specific lines we subtracted out. But now the LED lighting is broadband. So no matter what filter you use, you're still going to end up being limited, unfortunately. But the UHC-2
came before sodium.
Huh?
Mercury lights came before sodium.
Yeah,
Mercury
I guess.
vapor lamps used to be the standard.
Yeah, maybe it was. So the bottom line is that the UHC-2 is the better one to use. All right, and that's made by Baader. Okay, this is actually, if you look where the telescope's pointing, it's literally pointing straight up, So you're looking right out there. So that's actually a good position. And we actually got some good imagery here. We'll save this again. Save exactly as seen. I'd like to go to our this here, and I want to check out another object. Yeah, there it is. Since we're in the area, let's go check out the whirlpool. All right, this is a neat galaxy. And I like looking at these galaxies because we can look at our images over and over and see from different times if there's any changes. How do you think they discovered a supernovae? They discovered supernovae by looking at a galaxy and comparing it to a previous image of the galaxy. So each and every one of you can do that with our data that we've created and that we capture. So I think we're got a very healthy supply of images here. So we'll kill this right now. And we'll go back to our night vision mode. Okay. Okay, let's do that. Volker says, I have a 6.3 reducer. Yes, I was looking at that for the Celestron. Sometimes combine it with a cheap 0.5, but tend not to lately. The 6.3 reducer is a good thing. Optolong is also another one. Thank you, Rocket City. I was trying to remember the name. Yeah, I have a radian filter, and that filter costs $1,000. I'm not using it right now. It's actually here in a filter wheel behind me on the other telescope. And the radian is a very, very narrow band pass for the sulfur, the hydrogen, and the O3. Oh, what did Gladys say that got her in trouble? Oh, about German people?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. And she's only kidding. It's funny.
When I was in Germany back in 1990, I was there on business for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And in all that time, I met one jolly German. Nothing personal, Volka. But I met exactly one jolly German.
What does
His
that
name
mean?
was Sebastian. He was a funny guy.
Okay. Well, you just didn't hang around the right crowd. I know a number of Germans, and they're funny people. I have one, my friend Jerry, actually, and he's a funny guy. And a smart guy, too. Builds aircraft. All right, let's go check out the whirlpool. He told me a story where he built himself a home-built aircraft at one point, and he took off by accident while doing taxiing tests, and he white-knuckled it all the way around to the airport and landed again, and he landed the plane and sold it on the spot. He didn't want it scared him. He wasn't ready to fly.
What?
That was funny. And to hear him tell it, you can't help but laugh your butt off at this jolly German guy who was expressing his absolute fear, and you felt terrible for laughing at it, you know. But it was a funny story. Okay, let's get the whirlpool. Rocket City, yeah, I haven't followed Optolong's offerings lately because, you know, after getting the Radian and the UHC S, I've not started to look at other filters. But I have a filter wheel here, and I am going to get separate filters so we can do true narrowband imaging. But you know, I wouldn't make people sit through that because they'd have to sit through, you know, 30 shots in hydrogen alpha, you know, 30 shots in O3, 30 shots in sulfur, and then a bunch of luminance shots to actually do that. And it's like nobody wants to sit through that, you know. You know. All right, we'll just center this up. Go West Young Man, one more touch here. Okay.
Curtis has a question of you.
Where is he? Mark, oh yeah, next Saturday I'll be there at Palm Springs, Indian Wells. Curtis and I will be doing a lecture on how fundamental particles seem to hold the key for interstellar travel. And it's related to my friend Bob Schroeder's book, Solving the UFO Enigma. It talks a little bit about string theory. But it's all for lay people. It's written as a lay audience talk. And then I'm doing a SkyTour live stream event live for the first time with a real audience. And I'll be streaming it as well to the world, so everybody here that's here could be there and be live in the event with us. So it'll be kind of cool. And that's on June, whatever the Saturday is. It's 2 through 4, so I guess that must be maybe the 3rd, I guess. Is that the Saturday? And then at the end of June, well, actually in the middle of June, and I'm filming Proof is Out There here, and the second of 4 installments for them. And then at the end of June, I'm in Roswell, New Mexico, doing another set of talks and another SkyTour live event. So it'd be pretty cool. Curtis says, get 4 telescopes, 1 for each channel, do them in parallel. Oh, they have to be identical telescopes. And you know what would be cool? If you put them all together on the same mount. You know? 4 Skywatchers telescopes, all on the same mount, looking at the same object. You can arrange that, you know? And then have each one, stop it, Starlink. Okay, let's take pictures. Let's make this, actually I want to make this a 25-second shot.
And Ahada has a question of you.
That's Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Yes.
Where will we find the link for your stream? Same place you always do, because it's going to be broadcast on the same channels I always broadcast it on. It'll be on YouTube as before. Yeah. Yeah, all telescopes looking at each other, Gladys, with the thing I was talking about with the 4 telescopes. Teleception. That's cool, Voka. That's cute. Oh, you'll be in Breakthrough Discuss. Okay, that's cool. Curtis is going to be at Breakthrough Discuss. All right. 25 seconds on the clock. You have 25 seconds. Go. All right, now we'll just start with the live stack here. And we'll get rid of this guy. Okay, and there is our first frame for the whirlpool. And we will zoom in on it. I am really happy with how this little computer is operating right now. Yeah, I feel like if I knew this, I don't know that I ever would have bought the big one. This little computer cost me $279. Can you believe that? All this is happening for well, that telescope's out in Arizona, of course. So it's not technically all happening, but it's being broadcast and it's keeping up quite nicely.
Boca asks if is there a link to read up on your setup of hardened software?
I don't remember if we put anything on skytourlive.org. You could try going to skytourlive.org, Voca, and see if I put anything that might relate to this. I think I should actually create a specific entry up there that talks about the different observatories and what's in them. I agree with you. I haven't done that. I don't think I've done that specifically.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Curtis Horn says, what's the name of the event happening June 2 through 4 again? It's called Contact in the Desert. The interesting thing about Contact is Contact hasn't traditionally been a strict science event. And now they're actually heading down the path toward more science, which is why I've been invited. This is the first time I'll be at Contact. And the people putting it on are friends of mine. I know them. And even though we're friends, I've never been invited to speak because my topics have always been in the sciences as it relates to UFOs and so forth. And their topics have never been in that realm directly. But now that's changed. And so they've decided they're going to take it down that path. And it's the first live event in a couple years. You know, so that's pretty cool. Nice to be part of that. So the whirlpool here is, like Measure 101, except it has a tail on it, right? Well, that tail actually has a spray of material that comes out here too that you can just barely begin to see. And that is a second galaxy that has collided with the main galaxy. And if you saw this galaxy from the side, this little arm looks like it's being pulled toward this object here. And it is. It's being dragged out. And it's actually, this second galaxy, that little tiny galaxy you see there, is lower, or further into the page as we look at the screen. All right. And the arm of that galaxy, the arm of the main galaxy, is being pulled down toward it. It's a warped disk. Okay. We can, by studying the motions of stars and looking at some of the radial velocity data, we know this is happening. We can map out the motions of the stars here. So that's interesting. Remember, the universe is in 3D, and we're just seeing it projected on our supposedly flat sky. And that's the only time you'll ever hear me say flat sky. You'll never hear me say flat Earth. That looks interesting. I'm not even doing any enhancement. If I add an unsharp mask, you'll see the galaxy get a little sharper. All right, you see the details in the spiral arms better. Why don't we zoom in? Now, just as a point of clarity, each of these stars you see in this view, and in any view of galaxies, whenever you see these individual stars, all of them are way up here in our galaxy, and the galaxy's millions of light years beyond in the background. So you're seeing through a veil of our own stars in our galaxy. All right. So that's always the case, because we're inside stars looking out at the universe. So sometimes we'll look at galaxies and we'll see stars superimposed on the galaxy that are actually in our galaxy. All right. Yep. Curtis is checking out the Contact in the Desert. Yes, there's a lot of speakers there. And, I applaud them for taking the stab at going down more of a science path. It was something that they had not traditionally done, and they had experiencers and people that talked about UFO abductions as well. All valid phenomena that need to be researched for sure, but now they're adding science to the mix, and that's pretty good because that's why I wrote the book The Populated Universe, right? And that's because we all believe that there's life out there in the universe. We all do. But we don't believe that the life is here. And when you say is there other intelligent life in the universe? You want to know the answer to that. Well, we can't definitively answer that. But we can say that we believe there is. And if you want to know why that's true, that's what the book is for. The book tells you why that's likely. And so in other words, you get some science backdrop to say when someone says, I know we're not alone, but why do you believe we're not alone? And then you can say, aha, well, we're made of carbon. And, carbon-based life is very flexible. The carbon atom is the best atom in the periodic table. And carbon atoms and oxygen have an ancient history together, and they go together like a glove on a hand. You can't have one do something without the other in general. So in the universe, if you have carbon or if you have oxygen in a planet's atmosphere, it's probably most likely being generated by life, because life generates oxygen on this planet, the plankton, the phytoplankton in the ocean. So carbon-based life forms, symmetric around the center, very important because that symmetry is something that's in all life on this planet. Symmetry. So symmetry is a template the universe provides. DNA is a template that the universe provides. All life forms have it. Okay? And then carbon-based life is everywhere on this planet. There's no silicon-based life. Okay? Carbon-based life. So those three things are a very likely template that the universe provides. And so when someone says, I believe we're not alone, and they say, why? Well, then you have to, without thinking about it, you'd have to say, well, I just don't believe we're alone. There has to be other life out there. Well, the book answers why that's true. And that's the whole point of the populated universe. It is available on Amazon if you want to buy it on Amazon. It has a lot of illustrations in it, many of which I did myself, and I think that it gets the point across for people that are anxious to learn about, well, our place in the universe.
Mark, Izabela posted the website for Contacting the Desert.
Oh, very good.
Looks like you will be in pretty illustrious company there.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people there. And
Abby Loeb, George
yeah.
North.
Yeah.
Let's see, Graham Hancock. I haven't heard of him. Linda Moulton Howe will be there.
Uh-huh. I know Linda very well. I know Avi very well. Avi Loeb and I worked on some television shows together separately. And we've talked several times, and I did talk to his Galileo team as well. So I actually offered my expertise creating remotely operated systems like these guys we're seeing here, the observatory. Okay, I offered that to their Galileo project, and they may use it once they get further along.
I think Linda Moulton Howe got her start. She was working for a TV station here in Colorado. She was down in the San Luis Valley reporting on cattle mutilations.
That's correct. That is correct. Yeah, she's something. And I'll tell you one thing. The thing about Linda is that once she gets a hold of you and she wants to talk to you, she doesn't let you go of you. She physically holds on to your arm. she has a lot to say, and I respect her highly for it, you know. And we don't, I mean, there's some things we don't see eye to eye on, but you know what, it's okay. Because I think that she's got a good history of trying to figure this stuff out. And you got to ask, if there's cattle mutilations, what's mutilating them? Now, here's the thing. There are bacteria that will eat only specific types of flesh when an animal dies. Absolutely true. So, if I'm going to mute you while you're taking your pills. There's animals that actually eat a specific type of bacteria that eat a specific type of flesh, and that specific type of flesh is a flesh that is bordered. You know, it runs up against other types of flesh, all right, that are like in the jaw, say, and these bacteria will eat up to it, but not including that flesh. So they make perfectly sharp lines. It almost looks like it's laser cut, right? And so bacteria can explain how some of these cuts are made, because actually it's the way the bacteria eat, and they're very selective. However, that takes time, more than just an overnight. And so if you're asked to explain how this happened overnight, then you're kind of stumped. But if you're asked to explain how it could happen in a 20-hour time frame or 22-hour time frame or so, well, then it's not such a big deal. It's just that explaining it in that short overnight stint where this cow was fine at 7 p.m. the previous night, and at 4 o'clock the following morning, it's missing certain parts of its body in surgically precise ways. So, and that's what she opened my eyes to, is the time frame. Yes, there's other phenomena that make perfect sense to be able to do this, the bacteria eating selectively and so forth. But it doesn't happen in just 6 hours. So that's the part that I had my eyes open before about that whole process.
Mark, will you excuse me, please?
Sure. All right, let's darken up this background here of the whirlpool. You can see this extra material now up here from the galactic collision that occurred here. Really something. That's your Whirlpool Galaxy. Now the measure number on this is measure 51, and it's a Whirlpool Galaxy. Well, the Whirlpool shape has that Whirlpool shape to it, which is why it looks as it does. Okay, so we'll put the name out there for you. Hey, look at that. Whirlpool Galaxy O. Let's get rid of that. There we go. All right. Very nice. Let's color correct this. That's a little better. So what do you think, guys? Is this interesting? What I find interesting is that it's live. It's happening right here. This is the universe live in real time, and I absolutely think that that is, you know, the best part of this. There's other people that stream the universe, but there's no one doing what we're doing. I don't know why. And there's people that use some of the same products as we're using, but they don't. I don't think they have the production value. I just don't. It seems like they go to a certain level, but they don't go past it. there could be so much more. You know, I think that this is just a stunning universe, and I can't stop talking about it. By the way, you can find this live streaming now on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. And we have been doing Trovo and Twitch, but those are game platforms. So if there's other platforms coming along, we'll be going on those as well. Michael says, look at the color. Yeah, look at that color. Really impressive stuff. Yes, okay, thank you, Izabela. She says, here's the time for the live stream from California. It says, Skywatch, the universe live in real time with Mark D'Antonio and Ben Hansen, Saturday, 9 to 11, on Orion's Lookout. Okay, first of all, on Friday night, Ben Hansen, who is the host of the show Faked on Sci-Fi, a good friend of mine, I'll be helping him with his Skywatch. Now, I'll be his astronomer co-host, helping him on his Skywatch. And then on Saturday night, with Daryl and I, he'll be there helping us live as well. He'll be part of the show as a second co-host. I think it'll be kind of cool. He'll be a special guest. Really neat. So that'll be neat. And this little computer that we're using, this is really the good test for this, because what we're doing now is exactly what we're going to be doing out there with the same hardware, the same exact stuff. I even have a little tiny keyboard that I got, okay, and it's illuminated. Ooh, it glows red. Actually, it glows all the colors. It's red, it's purple, it's blue, cyan, green, yellowish green, white, rainbow colors, and red. Welcome back, Daryl.
Thank you. Having a earbuds problem here. Are you hearing any feedback or anything?
No, you're fine. I don't hear it. Are you getting feedback in your ears?
No, I'm not getting anything in my ears. Sounds like my speakers have been going the whole time.
All right, well, I don't hear anything, so that's the noise cancellation is working. So if that's easier for you, then just use that. You know what I mean? That's fine.
Well, yeah, but I just...
I'm not getting any feedback. I don't know if you guys saw at the beginning, we had a introductory video that's sort of like the before the show begins, and so I wanted to see what you thought of that. That was kind of giving you a look at the site, a look at the desert fauna that we have out there, and then we had the observatory. You saw the Milky Way. And the telescope should have been in there too. I don't think I put the telescope in. I'll have to put the telescope in the video. Just, yeah. Oh well.
Okay, got it. I think Skype updated again and it changed my settings.
Yeah.
Back on headset now. Hopefully there was no feedback from the speakers to the microphone.
None at all. Everything was good.
Very good.
Yep. It was all very good.
Thank you, Izabela.
Okay, we have 49 of these stacked, so that's kind of good.
I do. Somebody commented a minute ago about nice color tonight. I've noticed lately the colors do seem better than previous, perhaps. So it's very colorful at any rate.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I think that the moon actually causes the color algorithm to be thrown off a little bit and sends it a little bit more toward the red. And I think that's why we see this like this. But that's okay. But still, it's very effective and it's very nice. So I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. All right. Well, we're doing gangbusters tonight. We're gonna stop this here. Let me change the name. Okay, this is M51, and it's the Whirlpool Galaxy. There we are. All right, and so we'll save it, and then save it exactly as we see it. There we go. Actually, Rocket City, we do have diffraction spikes, but they only occur on bright stars. And you can actually minimize them by routing the wiring, especially because we're taking photos with a camera that's mounted on the very front of the telescope. So the light's hitting the going into the main mirror, coming up to where the secondary mirror would be in the Schmidt-Cassegrain, and normally would go down through a hole in the primary mirror again to a camera out there. So it goes in, bounces up, and then down again. Ours is only going down, hitting the primary, and then coming up, going through a lens system, and going to a camera sticking off the front of the telescope. And that takes our telescope from f8 down to f2. So we, in other words, we're photographically 25 times faster than the f8, and it's really something. So catching an entire galaxy in just 20 seconds is, well, it spoils you, let me tell you. Spoils you. When we go to the regular one with the regular focal length, that's not a hyperstar. Well, and by the way, this telescope is the only one on the planet that has this particular hyperstar on it. It was made specifically for this Meade LX600 10-inch telescope, f8, and it's the only one in existence right now. We're the prototype, so I think it's pretty nice. It comes alive when we start looking at nebulae, and you see the vast, expansive nebula. You got to keep in mind the field of view that we're at 100% right now on our sensor. But if we back out, right, and we come back a little bit, all right, and let me adjust that. All right, this is 2 degrees across and 1.5 degrees tall, so 4 full moons by 3 full moons. We're trying to I'm trying to do a correction for what's called flat field, but I've been trying to get a good flat field correction remotely without having to be there to do it, and I don't have a way of actually getting a good one except at dusk when you look into like a very darker blue sky. So I did one tonight, and you don't have to do one every night, and it was this one here, but it's not giving us the results we wanted. I'm not sure why, but hey, I'm going to save this one more time, save it exactly as seen, and now we'll clear it and let this next photo come in so you can see what it looks like. Shut that off. Yeah, I actually don't have a way to automate the flat field. So here's the one I took, and we'll let that develop a little bit. But I think it's introducing some artifacts, which I do not appreciate. All right, let me yeah, you can see them there. And if I push this, you'll see them a little more. No worries. So we got the other. See, these diagonal streaks. Don't know where they come from. Cleaned everything to the nth degree. So if I turn off the flat field, they go away. So clearly it's in how the flat field has been carried out. So if I do this one, on the other hand, and clear it, we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, the music is copyrighted. I'd love to play some really cool music. I'll tell you what's happening. We have over 400 streams on YouTube, okay? And those 400 streams are using what was free music from YouTube. Well, YouTube changed the way it manages its music, and now, after using this music for 4 years for free, now I'm getting copyright claims on this music, saying that, oh no, now the money that we're supposed to pay you for the music is now, or for the stream, is now going to the owner of that music. What are you talking about? This has been free. You can't just tear that out from under. That's bait and switch. That's not right. That's illegal. So I'm fighting with We Are Era Music. That's We Are, A-R-E, Era, E-R-A, Music. I've written all the principals in the company, and they haven't responded to me. Not even with a note to discuss it. So they're pretty crappy in my view.
That reminds me of what was happening some years back of, what'd they call it? Fair use doctrine.
Yeah, fair use.
Somebody was claiming copyright on all sorts of printed and electronic media.
Yeah.
That if you even quoted a sentence, they would nail you for it. And they finally got ruled against.
That's good.
Which is where the fair use doctrine comes in.
Yeah. So YouTube, this music was free. Free. You didn't even have to say where it came from. In other words, no attribution required. And I was using it for years. And suddenly I'm getting copyright claims on all the videos. And the revenue that we were getting for people who watch the video dropped to nothing. You know? And that's just, yeah, it's unfair is what it is. And you know, I actually talked to several legal folks, and they basically said, well, we're not going to sue Google, you know, who owns YouTube. So I was like, eh.
What, you mean the people whose slogan is "Don't be evil"?
Yeah. All right, we're going to go to this galaxy here. Yeah. Don't be evil, but we will. Yeah. Okay. This one's pretty too. Okay, that's the whirlpool. Yeah, Gladys, I did as well. I looked up the no copyright required music, the free, no attribution required. I've done that, and as it turns out, why does this keep going away? As it turns out, you can go look this stuff up, you can grab this music, but there's always a catch. You know, if they want attribution, that's fine. And I had mostly attributions in my descriptions, you know, saying where it came from, and that's fine. You know, so but if you're going to say that it's free music and then suddenly start claiming it as copyrighted music years later, that's not legal. You can't. You made the choice to make it free. You can't suddenly say, well, now I want to get paid for it. You lost that right when you put it out into the public domain. But YouTube is letting him get away with that. And that's just not fair.
Oh, that was the deal with the electronic media that was supposedly getting copyright violation claims. The people doing it had no right to it either, but they said they did. And when they published the fair use doctrine, that well, that all went away.
Okay, this is the sunflower.
A lot of people were getting sued over that.
Michael Hedrick, you know you can make music with AI. Michael, I've started investigating that. You know, maybe I can write my own music through ChatGPT. All right, this is the sunflower galaxy. We are going to check out the sunflower. This will be a 25-second exposure. Don't need much more on this one. Let's get out of our night vision mode and head into our live stack arena and remove the previous one, which is up on the server already. Let me see if I use the right. Yeah, I believe that's the one. Okay. We're going to take off the unsharp mask on this one because the nucleus of this galaxy is really cool and we want to see inside there. So we're going to take a journey into a galaxy. Now as we take exposures, you'll notice that it's going to clear up and get sharper. And as it does, we're going to also see that the galaxy's spiral arms will become more and more clear and defined. So this is the sunflower. The sunflower galaxy is on the order of 30 to 31 million light years away. And at least that's what it's saying here in Stellaria, but we've found that these numbers can be wrong. All right, and now we're connected to it better. All right, so we're just going to keep going up in those exposures. And uh-oh. All right. Let's go see how it looks now. See those spiral arms in there? It's pretty cool. Let's darken it up. Wow, look at that. Now you can see them. Now here's another thing too to understand. If you have a moon out, then all the noise gets increased by quite a lot. So you don't end up getting a truly accurate representation of the image. Not the best one anyway. I'm trying to see here. Hey there, RJPX, how are you? I sneaked this one in on you, huh? Gladys, don't even go down that path saying maybe Mark and Daryl can do a duet. That ain't happening. Here, let's see if we can coax a little more data out of that central nucleus there.
You can see the two dark bars in the galaxy already.
Yeah.
One on the lower right and then the big one on the lower left.
Yeah, I'm actually at 250 gain. I should be running a little lower. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to go down to 150 gain. We'll clear it and we'll try it again. I did not save it, no. That was intentional. Volca, so when's karaoke night? Yeah, I don't know. Whenever you want to sing. And whenever that is, we'll be there.
I sang Asleep in the Deep once or twice on here. That was, what's the guy's name? He has a really incredibly deep voice. Earl Ravenscroft, I think, or something like that. He's on YouTube.
Okay.
I learned that song when I was just a kid watching the Little Rascals, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
The kid with the...
Froggy voice? Froggy?
Yeah. He sang Asleep in the Deep one episode. and he had a real deep voice.
That was Froggy. Okay.
I can't hit the low notes like I used to.
Well, you know my story. I was one of my vocal cords is not working anymore. Because back when I had the surgery, which is now approaching 8 years now, I woke up, blind and quadriplegic, right? And I had to, figure out what happened. It was the surgery went wrong. And in the coma, I figured out how I was going to fix my brain. And when I finally came out of the coma, I did exactly that. And I got it fixed within 3 weeks. I literally walked out of the rehab hospital. That's a very, very short summary of how it actually went down. And then the vocal cord didn't come back because there was no pain associated with it. Where there was pain, I could actually make things come back, but there was no pain in the vocal cord. It just didn't work. And it was sort of inconsequential. But I lost the ability to talk really high. I can't go up high anymore. And I can't go. I'm back at a lower voice now. I have a voice much more suited for radio. And I could never talk that deep before. It's hilarious. So I got a deep voice by accident now. A deeper voice by accident.
I have a good face for radio.
Huh. I think our saturation is a little too high. Yeah, see, now we're getting some detail. See that? Look at that. Look at that beautiful nucleus. Let's zoom in on this. You can see this sunflower galaxy is a very, very elaborate galaxy. Hugely detailed. Look at all that. That's amazing. It's really pretty. And there's much more to see, but when the moon's out, we don't get to see the same amount of detail that we might normally see. It's getting, even though we have these special filters, it's still interfering. See all this cloudy looking stuff out here? That's all noise generated by the moonlight.
I wondered about that. Saw that earlier.
Yeah.
I can still see the dark bar across the spiral arms from about 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then there's the bigger, darker dark bar down at the lower left. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Raw BB asked the question, how did I figure out how to fix my brain? Well, I kind of told the story before, but if you've never heard it, then it's first time for you. When I was in the coma, I was wide awake. That was part of the problem. I was sort of locked into my body for about a week. And I could hear them. I could hear everything they said. I couldn't see. I heard them telling my family that they didn't think I was going to make it and all that. And here I am inside my head going, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be fine. Don't scare them. What are you doing that for? I'm going to be fine. I know I'm going to be fine. And so in the coma, I was actually working out a methodology for reconnecting the neurons in my brain that were damaged by what looked like at the time 4 to 6 major strokes that happened during the surgery that they never realized, and it was a clot that got away from them, blew up in the brain. The act of fixing the brain was based on two things: pain and fear. And I came up with this mantra in the coma: train the brain with pain. Because for me, whenever anyone grabbed my arm to move me or to roll me or to move, because they move you, so you're not in one position the whole time. And whenever they touched me, it was searing, burning pain. It felt like molten lava being applied to my skin. And I couldn't move. I couldn't move to go, ow, and pull away. I had to just take it. So I used it. I used that as the way to cause the brain to heal itself and reroute neurons that had previously gone to dead ends now, and to make it go to a positive outcome. So it started with my hands. When I asked the nurse, and I could barely be understood, but when she came in, I said, "Can you put a ball in my hand?" And I couldn't see it yet, so I could feel a ball going in my hand because she put a ball in my hand, and it felt like somebody was putting molten lava right in the palm of my hand. And I said, "Squeeze my fingers around the ball." And as she touched my fingers, it felt like molten lava, squeezing my hands around molten lava. And I literally passed out from the pain many times. But I held that ball, and what happens in the brain is and this is the crux of how it all works, the brain has evolved to keep you, the organism, out of danger. So it's always trying to look for an escape route, okay? That's why when you put your finger into a flame and it gets hot, you immediately flinch and pull back. You can't control that. It happens by itself. You can go, "Ah!" But as you're screaming in that pain, your hand eventually pulls out, because you're trying to fight the natural reflex, the natural evolved state of the brain to keep you out of danger. But if you can't, what if you can't fight that? Well, then the brain is stuck having to deal with it, and the brain doesn't want to deal with it. So what does it do? It works out another way. So in my case, I was holding this ball, this blob of molten lava in my hand, and I couldn't move, so I couldn't do anything. But eventually, the brain couldn't take it anymore, and it figured out a workaround. It figured out what's controlling the pain receptors coming from this hand, and let's reroute this freaking fingers and make them work. So it actually did this. It dumped the ball out of my hand. And at that point, I went from being a quadriplegic to a paraplegic, because that led me to fix my hands and my shoulders, and then I'd put another ball in this hand and fix this hand too. So now I had this all back, and that happened in a matter of just under a week in the rehab hospital. I got my legs back in about another week, and before all that, I got my eyes back in 3 days by staring at the computer screen, and it hurt so bad in my head. I had migraine headaches, and it felt like needles going into my eyes, and I forced them to stay open, and the pain was just excruciating. But that was it. That was the secret. The brain doesn't like pain, so it's rerouting, trying to figure out a way around it. So it worked out a way for other neurons, spare parts, if you will, to be brought in as backup. And so I have a backup brain in play, I guess you'd call it. So that technique is something that I've shown other people, and they've benefited from it. The most dramatic is someone that lost the use of their hands, and by following the technique I used, he got his life back. He got his hands back, because they weren't working. They were all like this, all curled up. And by following the technique that I used, which is very simple, just trying to appeal to the fear, because if you don't feel pain, then you might feel fear. Like if someone takes a needle and brings it near your finger and goes to stick you with it, you might want to go, ah, no way. And your brain is thinking that. So if you stick someone with needles in the end of their fingers, but don't penetrate, but say, geez, I'm not sure, I might stick you. That puts them in a panic mode because the fingertips are so sensitive. And this particular guy ended up being in the panic mode, and he was able to move his hands, and that was the end of it. Now the brain says, I remember this, and it started a whole chain that brought everything back. And I mean, that's really what it is, you know. We need biological electricians to fix our bodies. We don't need neurologists. I'm sorry. You know, because the neurologists, they're going at it from the wrong end. They're going at it from the outside looking in. Yeah, you got to go from the inside looking out. You got to let the brain, see what the brain is, how the brain's operating. There you go. That's my story. And that's the short form. You know, so this is looking pretty good.
Not to change the subject, but something interesting happened in chat a few minutes ago. Were you aware that Streamlabs has moderator status?
It does?
It does. Somebody used a bit of adult language, and Streamlabs got mad at him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm looking back now.
It was Voca.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see that now. Oh, yeah, look at that. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder if when I set up Streamlabs, I might have had I think I had a bot that just, I think I added a bot that gets rid of foul language. And that's it, nothing else. I let everybody do whatever they want. But I think the foul language one, I think I put in. I've never seen it used. Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's, well, sorry, Voca, but, you know, that's what happens, I guess. This is a family stream. We're not doing anything that's, you know, crazy. You know? Well, in spite of the moon, Daryl, this doesn't look bad. We're actually at 120% of the sensor. You know, we're at 20% more than the native resolution or native size. So let's do the native. There it is.
Yeah, I wonder if you might not need to focus again. Your T-comp's off.
It is, and I didn't turn it on, and that was an oversight, but I see that where our stars look pretty good. Well, I'm not sure. Temperature out there is 22.8 Celsius. You can see it here. The temperature shows right here. The focuser needs to have a temperature calculation available to it, because as the temperature changes, the focus changes. I did not turn it on here, which I normally do. And that's just an oversight. I forgot to do it. But, you know, it's looking okay. When you have a bright object, we get the data looks really good. You know, like look at the detail in these arms. I actually don't even have an enhancement on. If I turn the enhancement on, let's see what that does. Wow, you can really see them now. Look at that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That is really cool. Absolutely looks like really, really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And of course, it's the Sunflower Galaxy. Minus that.
I'm going to turn into a pumpkin here pretty quick.
Okay.
Whoops, I already did. One more object, as somebody used to say.
That was me. Just one more. Okay, any requests? Let's save this first. Okay, we saved it. It'll be up there soon. The instructions for how to get at it and how to read it is right here at skytourlive.org. You can just go here and scroll down, and the next section down from the first section tells you how, and click, gives you a link to click and go and get cool pictures that we take here. All right. So what object would you like, Daryl?
I'd rather fight than switch.
Okay, and that one is up now. Black Eye Galaxy, where is that?
It's M64, isn't it?
I think so.
Should be in the neighborhood.
Oh, I think so. I think you're right. Let's go look for it. Okay. Here it is. And now let's go down here. Let's actually change back to our night vision mode. All right, and head to this marvelous little object. And this will be the last object for tonight. There it is, right there. All right, well, let's bring it in. And first of all, let's take that out. And let's head to the east. Even in a 1 second exposure here, you can see the Black Eye Galaxy. We're at 100% on this sensor right now, so we are actually pretty accurately aligned for it to show up in that field at 100%. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have to wait for about 14 seconds for us to get a guide star. You'll see the guide star will be seen here as the numbers. It'll say 0.0.0.0 like that, and then proceeds to guide. And we let it go for a short time in order to stabilize, and then we can start taking our exposures and doing that marvelous stacking thing. We'll do 25 seconds on the Black Eye Galaxy. It's off and running, and we're going to go into our live stack, remove the last one. Okay. There we are. And now you see why it's called the Black Eye Galaxy. It's got a black eye. That's better. So this is a galaxy that's very interesting because it has a spiral structure that's in here that will become visible. But you also notice that it has that really dark shadow right there. Now it looks like a shadow. That's actually the dark dust and gas, the dark dust actually mixed with gas near the core of the galaxy, near the nucleus. And it's a particularly odd galaxy because of that material that's there. So this is why this galaxy's got such a name as a black eye galaxy, because it's on one side only apparently. And that's how it really looks. So you can start to see just a little bit of the spiral arms here showing up as we do this. Let's color correct. There we go. Okay, we'll let more come in. Izabela, thank you for mentioning the SkyTour live stream in California. Look at that. That's looking pretty. %125% on our sensor. You can start to see now some of the other detail in here. Look at that. Let's turn off the unsharp mask and get at the nucleus a little better.
RJP, the dark side appears to be closer to us. So you can say the top is toward us and the bottom's away. A scritch is a scratch, as in scratching a pet dog behind the ear.
Okay.
For some reason, this is also called the Sleeping Beauty Galaxy, which I don't get, or the Evil Eye Galaxy, and I see that quite well.
Well, maybe a Sleeping Beauty galaxy. This is like a closed eye.
That could be.
Yeah. And the M, of course, stands for Messier. Charles Messier created a catalog of just over 100 objects in the 1700s. Messier 1 is the Crab Nebula.
You remember it's Messier 2.
It's a globular cluster.
Uh-huh. So it's Messier 3 and Messier 4. And Messier 5, I believe.
Hello there, Volkish Fräulein. How are you tonight? Good to see you.
Can we zoom in a bit?
Yeah. It's 2:30 in the morning here, so we're going to be quitting here shortly.
Yeah.
Let's move it up.
Yeah. I have somewhere to be tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I have somewhere to be tomorrow as well.
Hopefully I can make it.
I don't need a lot of sleep.
I have been staying up way too late lately.
Oh, poor astronomy guy.
All your fault.
Well, I take eager credit for that. It's all right. So you see the spiral arms here, guys. It's really pretty, and it has a lot of character. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about regarding the formation of the way this looks, and how it happened. And to be honest, we don't really know. But the distribution of material in the galaxy is not necessarily going to follow some type of regular pattern. Something caused this galaxy to have a lopsided amount of dust on one side. It could have been an interaction with another galaxy. And that's very possible. Okay.
It's often the case.
Yeah. 22 here. I renamed it already, so we can go here, save it. Save exactly as seen. And you know what? Why don't you guys, if some of you haven't, show us that you support us by maybe joining our Patreon. It'd be so cool to have you on board, because you also get some member benefits, and at some of the other levels with the Patreon, you get some of our products. We're gonna send you stuff, and there's some very cool things that we make. We have actually a blanket for a bed. Just imagine a blanket, a queen-size blanket, and what it is a gigantic print of a nebula that we've taken. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if they were going to look good, but man, was I surprised. And yes, I am surprised. So I can't explain how good they look. You have to see them. They're just beautiful. There's lamps. A lamp for your desk with a shade that's translucent, and you can see a nebula through the shade. Oh, all these stuff is really cool. Of course, the regular fare mouse pads and refrigerator magnets and stuff, sweatshirts and other things, and we'll have t-shirts soon for the SkyTour live stream family that wants to support us. So I think that's something that will be cool. In fact, when we get our t-shirts, we're going to have this this program where You know, for a donation of $25, you'll get a T-shirt. Yes, you're buying a T-shirt, but it's a donation, and that's very important because when you buy a T-shirt, you can't write it off. But when you buy a T-shirt from us, you can, because you're getting, you call it a donation, and you will write off that amount, and then that's very helpful. I saw what you I saw what you said, Daryl, and so anyway,
Are your items up on your website yet?
Did you say what? What? Oh,
Your
sorry.
STLS stuff, is it up on the website yet?
Not yet. We're working on the stores now.
Okay.
So we're gonna be offering it on Etsy, on Shopify, and then later on Walmart online. There's 82 products, and that's just scratching the surface. Tumblers, mugs, shirts, underwear, bathing suits. I mean, it's crazy. Sneakers. You should see my SkyTour sneakers. You know? So, I mean, it's really cool. And there's so many products. Journals with a beautiful cover. We have one that has the Veil Nebula on the front and the back. And you open it and there's a pen and you write your notes and stuff. Just incredible. You know, practical stuff and some that's just kind of cool. You know? All right. Well, look at that picture. It looks nice.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if yeah, that doesn't help it too much. All right. Let's see if we can do a color correction here. There we go. And we'll save it. And save it exactly as seen. All right. Well, there we go. That looks pretty cool. All right, let's pop back down a little bit. There's those diagonals. I got to get rid of those. That's the flat field. I'm going to do a flat field. Not now, but later. All right, guys. Well, there you go. I want to thank you for coming out and hanging with us for a couple hours. Actually, I think it's been a couple hours. I'm not sure.
2.5 or so.
Okay, it kind of felt that way. All right. And we did get to see the supernova once again, which is really good. Very important, because the supernova, go away, name. The supernova was obviously the primary thing to look at. We're going to be looking at it most clear nights, and at least getting a look at it. I may not stream it, but it'll be up on the site, because we're going to capture all the data of its wane and its fade from glory. So pretty cool. So anyway, if you guys are interested, like I said, consider joining our Patreon. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's 5 tiers now that you can pick from. 5, 10, 25, and above that even. And for the 10, 25 and above, we're gonna arrange to get you some gifts for the subscription from our SkyTour store that we have working on. All right, so we're just working through some of the technical glitches now, but you also get in those tiers, those upper tiers, you get the highly processed imagery that we create, and that is something that is really beautiful. And you can do whatever you like with that, well, within reason. You can't sell it, but you can in fact put it on your own mugs and t-shirts if you want to, print it out, and we have a service for that. Hey, Simon Thompson, I saw you out in the bleachers. It's okay. So anyway, you guys have a good night, and we will talk to you really soon, okay? And on the way out, you can check out our introductory video one more time. So you guys have a good night. We'll see you all soon.
Good night, everybody.
There you go. Good night, everybody.